Hello there, my friends. Before we jump into today's episode, I have a quick message for all my fitness business nerds out there who own a brick and mortar training gym studio. I just really want to make sure you know that we are opening enrollment right now, our mid-year enrollment for our Unicorn Society group, which ends June 12th. So if you apply by June 12th, you get a super early bird rate in addition to a whole bunch of other perks. And as Mark and I have talked about on this podcast before, the Unicorn Society is really a communal learning and support network for people who own training gyms. Help you stay on track, set clear goals, have support by people who've been there and done that. Being part of the group means you get to connect with other entrepreneurs just like yourself on a regular basis, plus have unlimited access to me and Mark Fisher and Pete Dupuis. And so it's a fantastic group. If you think it's a right fit for you, or even if you're not sure, go to our website, go to businessunicorns.com, click on Unicorn Society, and apply. Applying doesn't mean you're committing. Applying just means that you're interested and you want to talk about it. And then you and I, or you and me and Mark, we can all get on the phone or on a Zoom and just talk about whether it's the right fit for you. But we have only a limited number of spots. It's not just marketing BS. We really only do let a small number of people at a time. So if you're interested, please apply. Get that early bird rate before June 12th. And if you have any questions, just email me, michael@businessforunicorns.com. But thanks for listening. On with the episode. Hello, my friends. Today I'm speaking with Stuart Brauer, who, let me tell you, is one impressive dude. We met for the first time having this podcast, and I'm hooked. He's full of such energy and passion and insight for this industry that he's a dude I really think you all should follow if you're not already. Stuart has over 20 years in the industry. He's the founder and owner of Urban Movement, which is a gym in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we talk about all kinds of things. Talk about how he is navigating COVID in his gym and with the other fitness business clients that he works with. We talk about the importance and value of getting perspective as a gym owner and the ability to make unbiased, as much as possible, evidence-based decisions instead of decisions based on reaction and emotion. I think that's a really important conversation and great takeaways there for all of you. We also talk a little bit about some of his favorite marketing strategies. We talk about the importance for gym owners to both be passionate about fitness and coaching, but also learn over time to become really critically thinking business owners and entrepreneurs. So this is a fantastic conversation. I think you're going to really just love Stuart. Though I should tell you, he tells me to call him Stu. So you're going to love Stu. And so without further ado, let's dive in and give you this fantastic conversation with Stu Brauer. Enjoy. The Business for Unicorns podcast is for fitness business owners who want actionable strategies to grow their business, take amazing care of their clients, and build a life and business they truly love. I'm your host, Michael Keeler, co-founder of Mark Fisher Fitness, and through Business for Unicorns, I'm a coach and consultant to industry-leading fitness studios around the world. Let's get started. Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. And today I'm really excited to talk with someone who I don't know very well. So we get to have our first date live here on the podcast. It's Stuart Brauer. He's been in the fitness industry for over 20 years. He's got a little micro gym down in Charlotte, North Carolina, but he also puts out tons of other content and works with people across the industry. So I'm so excited to pick his brain and just be fitness nerds together. So let's welcome to our virtual stage here, Stu. What's up, my friend?
What is up? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to get to talk to you and just pick your brain. It's been a wild ride of a year for all of us, especially our industry. And so there's so much shit to talk about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm just a huge fan of what you and Marky Fish have put together. You guys, I'm the biggest fan of the brand and everything you guys have done, and in this new extension with the helping other business owners. I think it's absolutely incredible. A podcast is great. I listened to a bunch of them before getting on this one, so just keep it up. I just want to let you guys know how impressive the work is.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Stu. That means a lot. I know you've put so much of your own work out in the industry, so you know what it takes to put yourself out there and try and help people in this space. So that means a lot. Thank you. Yeah. Well, with most guests, I'm have to start by talking about COVID and wherever we're at the moment of recording, just because I feel like not talking about it first and foremost is like just leaving a big elephant in the room. And so I'll ask you this, we're at the space now, at least where I am in New York, where we're finally getting to start to reopen with almost no masks after being closed almost entirely for 18 months. And I know things have been maybe slightly different in North Carolina, but not a ton. So I'm curious, what's your experience been right now? How are you handling reopening or this phase
Yep.
of COVID operations? And then also,
Yeah.
what are you hearing from people in the industry that you work with?
Yeah, I tell people, and I share this as just my story and my scenario. Obviously, it would be different than everyone else's. In Charlotte, North Carolina, we're back open now, no masks. We're fortunate on that front, high amount of vaccinations. However, I had to go a more deviant route in the beginning. We hit July and our cash ran out, so we legally opened just very quiet in July. Now we've had all the precautions. I'm very fortunate of a very large facility. Every single member has, about 100 square feet to themselves. So I can have 24 people in a class and every person has 100 square feet to themselves. And I know in New York City, that's an insane concept. That would not fly. So my scenario is much different. I have a lot of gyms I work with in New York City, in California, in densely populated metropolitan areas that are not as fortunate. And the backlash of maybe doing something deviating from the rules would have been far, far more severe from a customer service and a PR standpoint. My location, I own the building. I've got tenants in the front, coffee shops, things like that. So we're in the back of it. It was a different scenario. I'm not saying I'm not a rule breaker, but that's one I didn't want to break. I held out for as long as I could, but I also didn't want to have to fire full-time staff and GMs and people who have families. So we had to make the moves we did. And then North Carolina just slowly kind of, the restrictions fell quickly. I will say we retained, again, I don't have a membership base like yours do. We have a couple hundred. I was able to retain 97% of everybody and keep them paying the exact monthly fee that they had been.
Wow.
But that's in the micro gym model where we're talking, under 300 or so customers, you're probably able to go ahead and do that we rented out equipment. So I essentially pivoted and overnight we became an equipment rental company.
Yep.
And that worked extremely well. We pivoted. My consulting company obviously has a lot of video production software, so we were able to pivot to an online remote fitness app. Within like 13 days, we had that thing up and running. Yeah, very quick. We about 150 different workouts up there. So that was great growth. For those of you in New York City, especially these states that are just opening back up, do not think it's going to be the roaring 20s like this. Like it's going to you're going to open back up and it's going to get crushed. We had an initial 3 months of insane sales when we first opened back up illegally, and it was like prohibition. And but now, I tell people in full transparency, it's leveled off. Now that the masks have been lifted, we're about 2 weeks into the mask mandate being gone here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm hoping to see that uptick, but it's a new frontier. I'm typically, I know my quarters in the year. I know which ones are slow months, which ones are grow months. I know how this ecosystem down here works, and it's completely different right now. So it's just gonna be navigating this quote unquote new normal.
Yeah. Well said, my friend. I'm so glad you were able to pivot. I have seen the trend that people who are able to keep folks around, keep their clients engaged, keep them paying month to month, are the ones who are making it through. Are the ones I'm seeing on the other side, and the ones who weren't able to pivot, I'm seeing just at least in New York City, just close left and right. People who've been around for decades just gone.
Yeah, if we would not have been able to give out the equipment and rent that out, there's not a chance in hell I think anyone would have kept paying at a number that I could have stayed viable at. So it's just like that one little factor was honestly, in my opinion, as much as I'd love to say our online app with the streaming at home workouts is great. Yeah, there's still, you can go on YouTube and watch Sydney Cummings or someone else with even better video production for free. There's no reason for that. So to me, that saved us the equipment allocation.
Yeah, good for you. I think that's great. I know people always ask Fisher and I, because a lot of people know that we pivoted as well, and we pivoted online, and we just did Zoom classes. Yeah. And people are always like, how did you get people to do it? Right? Because you're right. There's so many other products out there. But for us, for our community, it was actually more about during COVID, people being stuck in their little New York City apartments, not being able to see other humans. They wanted to come to that Zoom screen for connection. The workout was just a bonus for most of them. And
also, I would also tell people to not underestimate what you guys have actually created. I had this conversation about Mark Fisher Fitness the other day. Someone said, well, what is so special? Like the workout is the same as most boutique fitness. I'm like, the ingredients are probably exactly the same. Yeah. It's the recipe, homie. It's the fucking recipe that he's delivered, and to the unique niche of individuals. I interviewed Mark on my podcast. Like your unique niche Nobody else in New York City is going after that niche of people that you guys have. You've created an entire brand around it.
Yeah.
No one's going to be able to get that anywhere. You can't get that at Tone House. You can't get that at Soul Cycle. You can't get that at a CrossFit. It doesn't. There's only one place to go. And when you actually have something unique, it doesn't matter if you have equipment or not. That's the only place they can get that vibe, that experience, that brand presence, and
other people like them, right? That's 100%. That's the whole kind of tribe mentality that we were doing before that word was trendy.
Yes, no,
you
nailed it.
Yeah, but I'm so glad you're able to pivot and thrive. It sounds like so good for you. I know one of the things I see in your content, and I hear you talking about a lot, and a kind of a theme in your work seems to be this idea. So I'm pivoting away from COVID here for a second. Well, permanently, is that you talk a lot about how majority of gym owners and solopreneurs jump into the business out of like a passion. Right. I would have like a love for fitness or a love for sports or love for movement or love for helping people. And then often, and this has been my experience too, that the last thing they jumped into it for is spreadsheets and budgets and marketing and ads and sales conversations that they begrudgingly a few years into the business learn they have to get good at those things. So talk to me a little bit about when you talk about people becoming better business people, I think is a phrase I've seen you write or say that, really we need people to become better business people, not just great coaches. What do you mean by that? What does it mean for you to be a good business person?
Just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you should start a business doing it. Because the second you start a business doing it, I never became less fit than when I first opened my first brick and mortar location in 2010.
Sure.
It is one of these things that I love whiskey. I'm not going to open a fucking distillery. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I have no business doing that. I love it. I would love, but I have no business doing that. The business side of what we do is generally, again, because there's no, and I'm not asking for regulation in the fitness industry, but there is none. There's zero. If you and me want to go open a hair salon, do you understand the amount of red tape, credentials, cosmetology board certifications, the state inspections? How much goes into the way of opening something like a salon or a barbershop?
Hundreds of hours of training.
Hundreds of hours. Yeah. I grew up, I found the first real good fitness stock I invested in was CrossFit. I opened up a CrossFit gym right at the peak of when it did really well. I made my money. I did very good. And then I rebranded and pivoted to this new model that we have now with Urban Movement. But at the time, any Joe Schmo, just like now in the fitness industry, anyone can go and be like, you know what? I've been an administrative assistant at Bank of America for 10 years, but I just joined a gym and I lost 30 pounds and that was completely life-changing to me. And now I love fitness. I'm going to go open up a gym, and anyone can open up a gym. You have humans that are not fitness professionals. And when I say professionals, I'm talking to Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours kind of repetition and work underneath your belt, opening up gyms. And the only thing that they've got business acumen wise is nil. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, they just really want to help people, which is noble. But the nice thing about a small business like that in a micro gym is that your business acumen is growing slow, but your business is probably growing slow too, almost in parallel with each other. You get some new clients, you figure some shit out. You get a few more clients, you figure some shit out, and it just kind of grows. However, at some point that we'll lose that. And that's where I see a lot of people get in trouble. My biggest thing is in the micro gym industry is when you get into this, you accept, okay, I'm going to open up a gym, but I can't be a coach, not for long. And I can be a manager, but not for long. I need to hire those two positions. Like I look at businesses, when you step into them, you are accepting the fact that you're going to create careers for other humans, because it's only through people that those golden handcuffs of the entrepreneur get broke and you actually can go and work on the business or pursue other projects or not get stuck in the trenches doing all the things, coaching 10 classes a day and responding to the emails and cleaning the facility and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I tell people, you're super passionate about fitness. Great. Go work somewhere for 4 years. Yeah. That's fitness related, because you have no idea. It'd be like dating someone for a week and then fucking getting married. You don't be like, I love fitness, I'm going to open a business. Like, whoa, there's a couple other steps. Like work for some fitness companies for a while. Like get into the industry, figure it out. Because right now you're in the honeymoon phase, homie, and that won't last for long.
Yeah. I think it's really well said. And we talk about that all the time with the people that we work with, the business owners we work with, about that process of constantly replacing yourself, investing in other people to create careers for them so that you don't have to be the one always delivering the service, always on the floor. So you can spend time working on your business instead of just in it all the time. So I think that's really well said. Talk to me a little bit about what do you think that process should look like for people? That process of continuing education, continuing to learn, continuing to, to figure out what you're missing, continuing to improve and make your business more efficient over time. Like, obviously, I'm going to guess part of the recipe that we recommend to people is working with people like us. Right?
Sure.
Just find mentors, people who are 1 step, 10 steps ahead of you in the industry that you can learn from, I think is one. But what else is part of that learning process?
Yeah. So essentially, people pay people like you guys and me a fee so that they don't make a mistake that'll cost 10x that fee. Essentially, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like I've a real estate business, I've got the consulting company, I've got the gym, and I've mentors, consultants that I work with, business coaches in all three, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not make expensive mistakes when I can pay less money to not make those mistakes. But step 2, I think the biggest thing when we're getting into this is, again, it's what I call, again, creating human resources are the thing. I'm a bigger fan of retention of employees than I am customers. And for any of the customers that listen to this, it's not that I don't love you. It's that no
Stu
offense.
loves you, everyone. Stu loves you.
I love you to death. However, though, in our business, I will have 1,000 Sallys in my career come through the doors of Urban Movement in Charlotte, North Carolina. I only have one Isaac. That is my GM. She was a client that I plucked and stole away from Bank of America, who runs my show and now is the head of our licensee development program. And this girl is a badass. She is irreplaceable. Everyone's replaceable, but I don't have 1,000 of hers coming through. Anyone who's owned a business knows the hardest thing truly isn't finding a customer. It's finding good people to run the show, to understand the brand, to be your ride or die and sit shotgun with you while you take this thing to wherever your business aspirations are. And if you're not constantly thinking of those people first, you're going to be in trouble. I've had business owners who are so caught up in the loud minority of a handful of customers that don't like some changes that are happening, but it's good for the business, but you cater, or you crater to that because you don't want to upset those people. Maybe I'm all about, I like customer service issues. I want to resolve them in the best way possible. I love our customers. I love my employees 1,000 times more.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really great point, because so often when if you're starting out, you're just focused on customer, right? And you need some dollars in the bank account, and it's kind of necessary in the first year or two. But shortly thereafter, or maybe as soon as possible, you're so right that so much important time needs to be invested into developing relationships with our team and finding great people. So I know this is a big topic. We could spend the rest of the time talking about this, but just briefly, how do you find the right people? How do you find the right people and put them on the right seat in the bus?
Yeah. So serendipity, right? I mean, make your LinkedIn post, get on ladder.com, whatever, get your job postings up, but it's going to be serendipity. I'm a bigger fan of hiring people that have personality, charisma. They're fucking funny at 5 a.m. in the morning. They can make you smile, versus the best coach. I'm not like, I stopped having coaches go get continuing education as a requirement. I would rather someone go to a Toastmasters class, learn how to publicly speak better. I would like someone to go to an improv class, learn how to be funny on the fly and keep people coming. I mean, we've all been on a Southwest Airlines flight or something similar where the flight attendant is hilarious. He's got his own comedic, shtick up there, and that makes the whole difference. I'm a bigger fan in development and developing at the people level. And when I'm hiring, I scope out baristas. I scope out bartenders. I scope out people like, I want them, not to be punny, but like, I want a unicorn. I want someone who's never touched the fitness industry. Because do you know how hard it is to retrain? Like, if you get a tenured coach 10 years in and he believes in the high bar back squat versus the low bar back squat, or he doesn't, you got to rewrite his entire thing based on your unique belief in fitness, which we all have. We all have a unique belief or a unique recipe as to how we deliver. And now you're trying to, mold this, old dog, new tricks kind of thing. I'd rather find someone who's young, because no offense to coaches, coaching fitness is a low skill feature set. It is. It's a low skill feature set. Now, coaching fitness in an engaging, entertaining way, and knowing, the 4 rotator cuff muscle, like knowing all that becomes higher. But at the end of the day, teaching a group of people, 50 people, 25 people, air squats and burpees and kettlebell swings and jumping over a box and having fun, it's not a real high skill set. So I can teach that to somebody. What I cannot teach someone is how to not be a dickhead. If you're a dickhead, you're a dickhead. But I can't teach you not to be. So I look for personality first and foremost. I can teach you the proper mechanics of a squat and a deadlift and how to run a group and all that other stuff and how to manage the inflection of your voice with the volume during the time. I can do all that stuff. I can't change your personality.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And so many folks that I've talked to, and this aligns with my personal experience, follow that mantra that, we want to hire for personality and passion and personality, all that, and we'll train for skill, right? And so just maybe one more tip here before I move off this topic, which is during the interview process, how do you make sure that it's the right fit in terms of cohesion with your team, in terms of culture, in terms of really kind of fitting into the recipe of your business? How do you make sure it's the right fit? Because we all know how much it cost to hire the wrong person. It's costing time and money and all that and emotional labor. And so how do you ensure during the interview process you're looking for those right ingredients?
You got to know what the business's core values are, right? The core values for everyone listening that's who you are as a business. It's your personality, right? It's how people would describe you. The core values should lead pretty much every decision. The individuals you hire need to align with those core values. My poor man's version of doing this test is very simple. I've done this. I've taken get in a car ride. We're gonna go for a 3-hour car ride. If I can hang out with you for 3 hours in a car and not want to kick you out, and we talk about life and business and love and relationships and everything and social issues and whatever, and we're vibing, that's going to work. I've had people meet me at a bar on a Sunday to watch my Cleveland Browns and so sit there and just engage with that individual. Because guess what? You put someone in your office, that's home court advantage for you, and they're dressed nice and they got their little resume. They're going to be the best PR'd version of themselves. Take them off kilter. Take it somewhere, where neutral territory and get to know someone. But the core values thing is really important. And the one way we do it is we have 5 core values and we have examples of how we live it in our business every day. One of them is be endearing. So my staff is not allowed. We have a very small parking lot. My staff has to park far away from my building because I want our customers to get the very best parking spots. Simultaneously, no customer opens the door themselves. We always have a staff member who's opening the door for you as you walk in the gym to greet you. Those are little things. And I explain those to an interviewee. I say, listen, these are the things we do because being endearing to my customer is putting customers first is the most important thing to me. Are you down with this? Do you like this? Does that vibe with you? And being very open about the stuff that you're going to have to do here to align with the core values. And if there's any, misses there, we'll figure it out early. Hire fast, fire fast.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice, Stu. And I hope listeners are paying attention. There were some really great takeaways there. I love obviously you need to have some values and make sure that you're finding people who align with those values. 2 is, taking them out of your building, get them out of your office, get them out to the real world. I love that. And then, the criteria you judge them by is actually the one thing I always say I look for. If I had to only one criteria by which I would hire for, it's, do I want to spend time with this person again? Right? Am I really looking forward to seeing them again? Do I want to hang out with them again? That's ultimately what we're asking our clients to want from our team is we want them to come back because they have so much fun every time they see Stu. Every time they see Stu, it's the best part of their day. It's fun, it's engaging, right? They learn something, they challenge themselves. And it's that's the kind of personality it's hard to teach for. So I think those are really, really great tips. Cool. Let's switch gears. One of the things I do before a podcast, every guest I ask the guest, what do you think your greatest professional superpower is? And you said one that I would love to talk about, which is you said that one of your greatest superpowers professionally is the ability to kind of zoom out and see the situation from kind of a practical angle. I think you even used the word emotionless kind of practical angle. So just talk to me a little bit about what that means to you. So what does it mean to kind of zoom out and see a situation kind of emotionless and from a practical angle?
Businesses are our babies. We created these things, right? We birthed them through our brains and through our actions, manifested this physical presence that is the business. When things happen, we generally act very emotional. I have a 4-year-old daughter. A little boy walks up and punches her in the chin. I'm going to react emotionally, right? It's my baby, right?
Yep.
The business is the same way. However, in business, it's a great place to analyze emotions and take a survey and inventory those emotions. It's not the best place to act on those emotions. And we could say that about any level of communication and relationship building and all that. But yeah, one of my superpowers is I've always been able to zoom out, back up, just go from, here to like a Google map and just go to a world view and just sit back. Like, okay, why are all these things happening? Why does that person feel that way? Or why are they acting this way? Why are no leads coming in? Why is this happening? And be able to look at all the different potential things that I see. And then I can come back down to earth and then make decisions. But when I, stay in my four walls, or I don't look around and I don't start seeing the perspective and start thinking of like customer, like, marketing and branding is one of my favorite conversations. And the reason I think so is because I'm really able to get into the mindset of the avatar that I'm trying to market or advertise to. And I'm only able to do that by getting out of my own head. Coaches and gym owners, we just talk a different jargon, and we believe a different world. Like, man, I've been posting on Facebook 3 times a day, and just nobody's been coming in, and I ran these ads. I'm like, bro, there's 86,400 fucking seconds in a day, and you're wondering why your prospects at like the red light when they're scrolling through Facebook, and then it turned green when they hit your ad, why they're not clicking on it immediately and calling up for a trial. Like, you got to zoom out. Like, this is how this goes, right? You need to hit that person 65 times before they might make impressions, before they might make a decision to go to your landing page or website. Anyway, it's just the ability to like take a thing you're upset about in the business, zoom out, take a look at the whole thing before you freak out emotionally, and then zoom back in. And that I would recommend anybody start practicing, not only in their business life, but their personal life as well.
Yeah, I love that so much, Stu. And frankly, we could keep talking about this because this is one of my favorite topics. And for me, what I'm hearing you say is, well, one, I love this idea of this tool, of this kind of Google Earth button. I talk about that a lot when I'm teaching coaching, verbal coaching, not physical coaching. Is that idea of just hitting the button, zooming the heck out, and getting the full picture. I think is so valuable. And also, what I'm hearing you say is learning as a business owner how to make kind of evidence-based decisions. Right. So often as humans, we think we make business decisions based on logic and reasoning, but we don't. We make them based on emotion. And then afterwards, we justify them with logic and reason. And so what I'm hearing you say as a business owner, one of the skills you need to understand and get better at over time is making decisions based on evidence. And emotions are one data point, right? That's one part of the data. But when you can zoom out and get some perspective, there's also lots of other data points to consider when you're making decisions. So can you maybe just give me an example of a time when you had to zoom out from an issue and use perspective and gather lots of data to make a real evidence-based decision?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, so I found CrossFit in like 05, 06, and I jumped in and I opened up CrossFit South End, and it was my first year in business, and we grew to one of the largest CrossFit gyms in Charlotte, North Carolina. It did very well. However, though, at that time, it's like 2014. I've got this great business. I don't work anymore. I'm making tons of money. I'm very happy with life. However, I would constantly zoom out and just kind of survey this fitness business landscape. And I'm seeing Orange Theory and F45 and what I call the evolution of boutique fitness at that time. Back in the day, especially CrossFit. CrossFit's the largest fitness licensee model there's no company has more units than CrossFit. They have 16,000 around the world, not Planet Fitness, not Gold's Gym, nobody. So I'm zoomed out and I see this arrival of this very pretty boutique thing. I mean, it's coming hard. Orange Theory is going to change the game. F45 is going to change the game and what people expect. And I instantly realized this warehouse dropping barbells from overhead, gritty, hardcore. I said, it's great. That business model isn't going to work long term. I need to start making moves. But to change something over, it doesn't happen overnight. So I zoomed out and I bought a commercial building. I decked it out. I created a completely different model. I had a bloodbath of turnover from customers who they had ordered one thing, and then I rebranded and started offering something completely different, which, completely understand. They should probably go, they're no longer the desired avatar customer. Yeah. But that entire thing, if I would have stayed emotional and pressed in, I'd be like, oh my God, we got 40 cancellations last week. Oh my God, I did the wrong thing. Change it, go back to what we were doing. But I stayed zoomed out. I could see the landscape. And now I'm sitting here today, and CrossFit gyms around me are dying left and right, and we're sitting here where things are great. So that's probably my most the best example of when I actually use my superpower for good. There's times, again, even with that superpower, I don't always use it. I'm not perfect, but that's one where I'm glad I listened to it.
Yeah, good for you. That's a great example. I mean, and it's a great example because it wasn't just zooming out to see your business as a whole. It's zooming out far enough to see your business in the context of the whole industry and the trends in the industry. And I think as business owners, we often have a very myopic view. We're not actually zooming out that far on a regular basis. And it's so important because look at the kind of decisions you can make when you're at that level, right? I mean, look how you can have this kind of detached engagement from your business where you're totally engaged and you care, but not attached enough that every little client cancellation or complaint is going to destroy you.
Yeah.
To have that arm's length distance from it so you can still be objective about what the best decisions are for your business is a really good quality to have.
Yeah, people who've ever taken vacation, you see the cool scene where someone jumps off the cliffs into a cool blue lagoon kind of thing. Before you jump off that cliff, what are the rational things you're thinking about? How deep is that water? How close are those rocks? Is the wind blowing? Is it going to blow me this way? Like, that's the same thing when you make business decisions. It's kind of like jumping off different size cliffs. You have to calculate a lot of the other things that are going on around you before you actually jump.
Yeah. Well said. Well, let's do this. I think we have time for one more topic before we get into our final 5 questions. So I think people would kill me if we ended this podcast and I didn't ask you about marketing, because I know you love talking about it. And so let's talk a little about marketing. And let me just tell you what I'm seeing recently. A lot of the folks I'm working with, like people in our Unicorn Society group and other folks I'm consulting with, I've seen a real move away from digital marketing recently, or really push against digital marketing in the last year and even before COVID, in part because platforms like Facebook and Instagram and others just are difficult and cumbersome. And if you put all your eggs in the basket of digital marketing on Facebook and Instagram and an algorithm changes, you're screwed. Or I've had maybe 5 or 6 people in this last year I know whose their business page on Facebook was shut down for whatever reason, and they couldn't get it back up for months or at all, and had to start another page. So there's a lot of people just incredibly frustrated with the state of digital marketing. More people moving towards kind of Google and SEO as a result of not being able to do ads on social platforms. And I'm seeing some people even just go pure kind of analog or grassroots, local marketing, doing local workshops, putting up flyers, putting flyers on cars, going super kind of old school because they're just so fed up and over the digital marketing landscape. And I'm kind of agnostic when it comes to what I tell people to do. Is if they love digital marketing and they find it successful, great, go for it. And if they don't, they're frustrated, we'll find something else. But I'm just curious to see, what are you seeing that is my experience tracking in your world as well? And how are you telling people to navigate this? It just seems kind of harder than ever to figure out where to put the dollars and the energy and the time for our marketing efforts.
Yeah. So the way I see it, it's got to be everything. It's got to be digital, and it's got to be, an organic marketing effort as well. The 6-week challenge kind of model that that high volume, there's a lot of digital marketing agencies. I know you guys work with Loud Rumor, Mike RC over there, who I'm a huge fan of, big fan of Mike, but there's plenty of any gym owner has seen the Facebook ads. I can get you 600 leads by breakfast, that kind of BS. Well, digital marketing is still, in my opinion, relatively easy, the actual tactic of it, and still very effective. What's not easy, but simple, is breaking down your message. Who are you going after? It's the brand and the marketing messaging, I think, is where most gym owners mess up. They think they don't know what they were to say. I do this test. I say, if I gave you a microphone and I took you to the stadium, you guys are in New York, so let's take you to the Giants Stadium, and it's you on a stage with all the competitors in your immediate area, all your competitors. Now in the stands are all your potential customers, and you each get the microphone and you have 60 seconds to say who you are, what you do, and why you're unique in the market. Everyone would sound like an asshole. They'd be we do great fitness and good coaching and great community. Everyone would just say, nobody would have something super unique.
Yeah.
And it's until you figure out what your unique is and your unique message that it doesn't matter the platform. I don't care if it's flyers. I don't care if it's a booth at a health fair or you're running Instagram ads. If you actually have the unique message, that's what breaks through, not the vehicle of how the message gets there. Now, I'm a huge fan of guerrilla marketing. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. We do guerrilla marketing campaigns. We do hangover breakfasts at apartment complexes. So on Sundays, because yes, when nobody says no to mimosas and food. So I call up apartment complexes, or my GM does, and says, hey, listen, Urban Movement wants to put on a hangover breakfast. They're like, what's that? We're going to show up with mimosas and breakfast sandwiches for free for your residents. We'll have a few iPads there if they want to opt in for a free week at our gym, but we're essentially just there to show up with free food and booze and meet people. And it's the best thing because my staff is there shaking hands and talking shop with people as they're pouring them drinks and giving them food. And it's not about fitness. We're talking about the football game that day. We're talking about the weather. We're talking about their job. How long you've been in Charlotte. You're making a personal connection. They're now a warm lead. Oh, and by the way, I know we're kind of stuffing your face here with some cheddar biscuits and mimosas, but if you want to work it out, we've got a free week here at the gym. It's right down the street. And we get more leads at our guerrilla market events. We do sip-in shops at Lululemon's. I'll set up a table, pouring kombucha or mimosas or water or wine while people shop around. We will do B2B guerrilla marketing efforts all day, one a week, try to
Yeah.
get 20 to 30 leads per event. And my organic leads generally exceed my paid marketing leads, and they cost a fraction of it. But I do believe you need multiple fishing poles in the water. When you go fishing, people, and you're looking for those customers, do not rely on just one. Have a couple of them in the water. And sometimes, that Google PPC ad, pay-per-click, is going to be pulling, is going to do real good. Sometimes you're doing an internal referral campaign that just did really well this time, even though it's done dog shit the last 3 times. And sometimes your digital marketing's bust, and sometimes it's flush. Like, you just have to have all these different things in there, and it's really obnoxious and annoying. But guess what? It's what you signed up for. I don't know if you realize that. Maybe you didn't read the pamphlet on career day when you picked gym owner, but that's the name of the game for in-person brick and mortar services.
Yeah, that's really well said, Stu. Again, listeners and viewers, I hope you're taking notes because there's some great takeaways there. I think that the fact that, one, it starts with the foundation of like having good messaging, knowing your shit, knowing how to talk about yourself and your unique value proposition.
And nobody does it better than you guys. Like, anyone listening to this is having a hard time, go look at Mark Fisher Fitness's website and tell me it looks similar to any other fitness website you've ever seen in your life. You wouldn't be able to say so. I promise you, and that's what I do for a living. And I've purposely I put you guys out there. I've got you guys on slide decks that I do presentations in front of hundreds of people, and I use you as an example of this is unique messaging that grabs somebody instantly.
Yeah, well, thanks, Stu. That means a lot. And honestly, no gym in the history of gyms ever used more glitter or hot pink than we have. And I'm proud of that, I'm proud of it.
Enchanted ninja plate. I mean, just the language you guys have on there is just incredible. The copywriting is perfect.
I think that's great. And one of the resources, I'm sure you recommend this as well, that I recommend people who need some help doing that, people who need a framework or a course. Certainly, you and I probably can help people with that. But also, I really love StoryBrand's work. The StoryBrand, the book. Yeah, they have courses. We have some of our clients who have recently done it. And if you just need a quick way to understand how do I talk about my business in a way that sets us apart, I think there's probably not a better framework out there right now.
StoryBrand, I would highly recommend. There's a book called Primal Branding by Patrick Hanlon. It's a great book. It breaks down the 7 elements of every good brand. And when you think of it that way, and you're like, oh my God, I get it. Like, every brand needs pagans. Every brand has icons and rituals and a creed. And you start thinking about yours, you're like, oh, I don't have this one. I don't have this one. I don't have that one. And then you can start building from the inside out. But I highly recommend that as well. But StoryBrand and Donald Miller's stuff is phenomenal.
I also love the other takeaways you had here, which is, have lots of fishing poles in the water, right? Do some digital to the point at which it doesn't drive you crazy. Get some content out there digitally, put some money behind it, and also really pay attention to guerrilla marketing and stuff that you can do. And I love the hangover breakfast. It's just a really great idea. I know a lot of people in our Unicorn Society right now are playing around with doing different workshops that are a similar idea, where you go into businesses and just do like a lunch and learn, bring the lunch.
Lunch great.
That kind of thing. And that's frankly, I tell them all the time, that's how Mark Fisher Fitness grew for many years. The first few years, we didn't do any paid marketing because we were growing very quickly, but also we did parties every 6 to 8 weeks. And we'd have hundreds of people at the party and we'd get 50 to 100 new emails every single time for people that we hung out with. And it wasn't about fitness. It was just making a personal connection. Yeah.
You named it. The hardest thing in group fitness, the reason we don't have more customers, you and me and every other group, is because group fitness is intimidating. The reason you don't have more people is because Tina wants to go try it out, but her friend Sally won't come with her. And Tina's not going by herself. She's intimidated. So even if you make your messaging very unintimidating, that is still the mindset for most people. And if you don't believe me, you just need to go and talk to more customers. But parties, like we do sweat socials, same exact thing. And it's meant to be fitnessless. It's just meant because it's not intimidating. Have a few cocktails and talking with people and getting to know them first, so that when you show up to the gym next week, you're still nervous about the workout. You're like, but I know people. I met them. They were nice, all that.
Yeah. And I think that becomes just extra important when you're working with a general population who I think, especially we are at MFF, who are not fitness people. They are people who are, don't think of themselves as athletes, who don't think of themselves as being incredibly fit. They have a lot of areas of where they're self-conscious and questioning themselves, and they're very uncomfortable. So knowing that it's going to be a safe space with safe people, and there's some degree of psychological safety, is just so important before they walk in the door. And the best way to do that is to hang out, work on your friendship first before you work on the transaction.
Create a friend before you try to create a customer.
And I think it's simple, but people forget it. And I think it's a great reminder. So thank you for that. Well, let's do this. I know I want to be respectful of your time, and I want to make sure we have time for our final 5 questions. So let's dive in and do this.
Let's do it.
The final 5 questions, I think you've heard on the podcast. It's 5 questions I ask everyone, just about you, just about Stu. So let's dive in. Question number 1, Stu. What's one thing, just one thing you love about being a gym owner?
The thing I love about being a gym owner is in the beginning, I changed this recently, but I love the idea of waking up. I put on a pair of Lululemon shorts and a hoodie and I'm good to go. But I'll say the one thing I changed most recently is I was doing that every day. And when I started dressing like as if I was going to meetings in the middle of the day. And instead of working from my office at the gym, I'd work at a coffee shop, and just changing my appearance from what I wear every day to that was monumental for me. But that was my favorite thing, is the athleisure, and they did not need to put on a monkey suit from 9 to 5.
Yeah, it's true. I wore a suit for many years for both of many of my last jobs, and I don't miss it at all. I love it. Awesome. Question number 2. This is about client experience, customer service. I know it's really important to you. So what's one of the coolest or most memorable things you and your team has done for a client?
We do RACs, RAKs, random act of kindness. So every month we'll find a reason to do something. So if someone passes the bar, or they had a kid or whatever like this, we'll just do a random nice thing for people. We'll obviously, if someone's involved heavily in charities, we'll do things, workouts and stuff to support them. But yeah, my favorite like customer service things are the things we do every single day. And those are the things that create brand. Like, like I told you, just a couple of the ones like the parking spot, at the end of every class, someone comes around with a platter of ice cold aloe scented towels and hands them to people at the end of their workout. Like just those, it's the little things. I think honestly, the bigger ones I could like vanity brag on, like, oh, we donated this, or we did this for this person whose house got messed up. But I honestly just like those little ones every day that a customer takes for granted. But I know that if I pulled it, or if it wasn't there, when they go to another gym that doesn't do stuff like that, that's when they notice it. Those are my favorite ones to do, or the small moments.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. The towels. I wish we could do that, Emma.
A lot of logistics, a lot of laundry. It's a lot of laundry. So much laundry.
Amazing. Question number 3 is, when someone on your team does this, it makes you super happy. So what is the behavior you see on your team that just really lights you up?
When they call me out on my own bullshit. When I am pitching something that maybe I know won't work, but maybe it's ego driven and they can recognize that. My team's been around me for a long time, but nothing makes me happier than when somebody steps in and takes a very strong business or like counter argument to something I'm presenting or a stance I'm taking. And even if whether they're right, wrong, indifferent, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's my favorite thing, because I want employees that think like business owners. That's the way this ship floats the furthest.
I love that. Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So what did you do to create the environment and that culture on your team that they're comfortable doing that?
We created the leadership team. So anyone who's on the leadership team, there's not a decision in the business that gets made without the sign off, and it's got to be a majority vote. So, I mean, this literally is like everything. So like right now, I'm putting my building up for lease, and because we're going to a license model, and having that discussion with my team, like, okay, putting the building up for lease, that means if we lease out this building, there will not be a physical location here, and you guys will only be running remotely the licensees, and this is what the comp plan would look like. Like, I mean, I'm talking every decision, and that allows people to have a hand. Like, they're not just being told, they're not given marching orders, they're actually coming up with the strategy themselves. And I've done that from the jump, and it gives people ownership inside the business.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's a great example for all of you listening who have teams. Follow that example. Question number 4. What is your most reliable strategy for generating leads? You got to go generate some new leads tomorrow. Where do you go first?
I am, as much as I hate it, I am a fan of hyper local influencers, hyper local. And I'm talking people with under 5,000 followers. Those are generally the deepest, right? Like an inch wide, mile deep kind of scenario. That's one of my, that's a big favorite of mine. I really like the guerrilla marketing stuff. Like, for example, there's a lot of apartment complexes with very cool, trendy pools. The young millennials are there, the young professional. So we're going and sponsoring pool parties. We're literally going to these apartment complexes. I'm bringing the DJ. I've got all the urban movement floats and beer pong balls and shades and all that stuff. And I'm going to put on a pool party because nobody says no to a pool party. And my team will be there, and it'll be urban movement. So every Instagram story and every TikTok that day will be shot will have urban movement shit everywhere.
Yeah.
We're doing so like those kind of things. Like no other gym is messing around with that idea. That's the stuff I love, is going and doing things that have nothing to do with fitness, but they get they get the eyeballs on my brand that I want for a very low cost.
So much fun. Who doesn't love a pool party?
Yeah, who doesn't, right?
Just circling back to the local kind of micro influencers. For those of people who have never tried that strategy before, what do you go to them with? What's the pitch?
So, for example, so it's just generally serendipity. A customer or an employee will come and be like, "Hey, this girl has been kind of doing food blogging. She's not a big deal yet, but like she's building this thing up. Do you think this would be some cool?" So we have a podcast. I believe every micro gym should have a podcast where you talk to your customers, you talk to your staff, and you talk to other businesses and create your ecosystem and your network. And so that's what we'll do. We'll start bringing in these influencers and have them on the podcast first to develop a relationship, get to learn more about them. The podcast isn't about fitness. It's about the hyper local area. So ours is called Sweat Local CLT. And we interview interesting people in Charlotte, and some fitness conversation gets in there. But that's it. We kind of give them a platform, and then we ask, can we do something with you? Can we maybe, if it's a food blogger, can we go to the top 3 restaurants and it's an urban movement coach and you talk about what's the healthy options to grab, and just getting creative with stuff like that. But yeah, because you don't want to find someone with first off, if someone has 100,000 followers, they don't know how to price their shit, and you probably can't afford it if they do. So find someone who's got a strong following. So, because again, you're a micro gym. Like, I know Mark Fisher Fitness has a lot of customers, but it's relative to being in New York City. But for the people who listen to this, that you're in Boise, Idaho, you're in Cleveland, Ohio, you're wherever, you need a couple hundred customers, realistically. We're talking 200 to 400, maybe, depending on your operational capacity. It's not that many people. Yeah, it's really not.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, and so few people are not taking that hyper local view and bringing in people who have just dozens or hundreds of followers. Yeah, that's all you need. Sometimes you just need one of them.
and because you only have a couple thousand followers, you don't get paid that much. Like we've done so many of them on energy exchanges, free gym memberships, for them to make X amount of posts.
That's great. Yeah, good for you. Great tips. Last one, final 5 question. What is one thing you think gym owners can start doing better tomorrow? Just one thing you just wish everyone would just start doing this better tomorrow.
COVID's a weird time for me to give this suggestion, but I believe in the previously, and again, New York City, you don't really have this option, but a lot of places wanted to get big locations. Big footprints. I want to be able to do lots of stuff. Yep. Well, the model, I truly believe, is very much more that Barry's Boot Camp, that Orange Theory. We're talking an 1,800 square foot actual on-floor studio. You're fitting 40 or some people, high operational capacity. Now, again, with social distancing and COVID, I know that seems like a weird thing, but I will throw the towel in, and people are like, we'll never get back to that. They'll never put 50 people in an Orange Theory again. If I truly believe that, I would shut down everything right now. I believe we will get back to that. Because honestly, the financial model, the economic engine of this thing doesn't work without that high volume. So what I wish people would do better with is actually, when they're getting these commercial, realize that you're going to have 2 very big expenses. In the beginning, it's always going to be your rent, and then eventually your payroll outgrows your rent. But those are always to be your 2 biggest expenses. I saw way too long, from 2006 to about 2018, 19, the size of spaces people were opening up. I just instantly could sit down and be like, you see this floor? I can put $1 value to every square foot in here, and you're not going to generate that much money. So it's what I call operational capacity. Think of your businesses like airlines. You have X amount of seats. Okay, you don't want to have a ton of seats, because then your airplane is too big and it can't get off the ground. So you need a nice tight size airplane, and it's how to be smarter with operational capacity and facility layout, and then revenue per customer per class. Get rid of these fucking vanity metrics of like, oh yeah, I make $65,000 per month. I'm like, yeah, but you're spending $55,000 to make that, right? Like, I want to know microeconomics at the class level, because in the fitness industry, we're only going to have X amount of classes a day.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a pop in 2 p.m. class. It's just not really going to happen. You're going to have 5, 6, 7, maybe a few mid-mornings. You're going to have evening times. It's like a bar from 4 to 2 or whatever. Like, you've got a certain time to make your money. And I just wish people would be better with space allocation and the decisions they make on commercial leases, because you and me both know how many people went out of business in COVID because they couldn't afford the rent.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so well said, Stu. And I think all of you, if you want to learn more about that, reach out to Stu, reach out to me. We'll help you figure it out because because it's so important. Our businesses are much more like an airline than it is like anything else.
Yeah,
you
there
know,
it is.
and that's one of the things we've been trying to get better at MFF as well, is trying to understand our economics per room, because we have a bunch of tiny
Yes.
rooms in New York,
Yep.
and thinking of it like their own little planes or their own little
Yes.
buses,
Absolutely.
and I think it makes a big difference when you can look at your business with that kind of perspective,
Yeah.
and because when you have those numbers, you can really make some important decisions. Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. That was really great, Stu. What a wonderful final 5 questions. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.
Where can people find you online in the
Yeah,
world?
I mean, yeah, it really the easy way. All the content I put out in the realm of micro gym in the business world is WTF Gym Talk. I have a very no bullshit approach to talking about the stuff in the business world and calling things out that I think are ridiculous and pushing people in directions that I think are a necessity. And so anywhere, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, anything, but just put in WTF Gym Talk, and you'll find my ginger face and some topic or something that I'm ranting on. So go in and enjoy. And if you ever have any questions, shoot me a DM. I'll get back to you. I promise.
Yeah, I love that. I think this episode's going to be coming out actually really soon. We're recording this just before, what is today's date? Oh, the 31st. Actually, it's going to be coming out probably the first week of July. If anything going on in the world you want to tell people about, you want to direct them to?
So I'm doing a bunch of traveling. I've got a long form for the podcast. It's a 3-hour long form called Shoot the Shit, where I sit down with movers and shakers in the fitness industry. We do very long form. I ask the questions nobody else in the typical podcast circuit can ask because they're restrained to a half hour, an hour. Yep. And those episodes are dropping once a month. I was in Long Beach interviewing someone. I was on the West Coast interviewing Kelly Starrett and some other people. So yeah, keep an eye out. That's a lot of good content's coming out with that. And then hopefully get back onto the speaking circuit and seminar circuit here once things kind of give it about another, hopefully by 2022.
Yeah, I love that. Well, people, go follow Stu. I mean, clearly, you just have so much great experience, such a great perspective. I mean, some of the ideas and strategies you've mentioned on this podcast, I don't hear other people talking about. And so you got a really, really great perspective on this industry that I think is so valuable. So y'all go follow him. Go watch and listen to his shit. This was really great, Stu. Thank you so much. It was great to get to know you. And I'm sure I'll have you back again sometime because there's so much more to talk about.
Michael, thank you so much. This is an absolute pleasure, brother. I'm really glad we got a chance to do this.
Have a kick-ass day.
You too.
Hey friends, before you go, just one more thing. If you enjoy this podcast, you get value out of it, you enjoy listening, please share this podcast, comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Please share it with friends and family. We don't spend any money on marketing or advertising. And so the only way people find out about this podcast is from you. So please do everything you can to share it with friends and fellow colleagues in the fitness industry. We love making it and we want to keep doing it for a long, long time. So I appreciate your support. Go have a kick-ass day. Bye.